Started recording? Yep.
Okay, so in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting in a hybrid model, both virtually and in person. The Cemetery Committee is conducting this meeting, October 4th, 2023, at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time on the Zoom platform and in person, and in accordance with the town's policy, directive, and guidelines issued on April 1st, 2020, and amended on May 2nd, 2022. If you are recognized, please state your name and address. This meeting is being recorded. I, Rod Rydell, hereby call this meeting to order. All committee votes will be taken via roll call. We will start with an attendance roll call of committee members. When I announce your name, please reply. Brian Davidson? Here. Jerry Susi?
Here.
Jeff Walton?
Here.
Priscilla Sturgis?
Here.
Rod Rydell? Here. Okay. Next item on the agenda is deed signing, and we have signed seven deeds today. So we can go to the next item on the agenda, administrative item number 4, next proposed cemetery committee meeting, November 1st, 2023. Okay, at 4 p.m. Okay, be there. Aloha. Okay, so for our discussion topics and possible action items, we'll start with D1, the CPW staff report, operations and maintenance update. I believe Tish is going to take this.
That's me today. So Einstein's continues to do landscaping. They're continuing mowing. Before our next meeting, they likely will do their final cut. I don't know that they'll have started fall cleanup yet, but they will likely have done their final mowing of the year after many mowings this year.
Yeah.
We did have the storm that was on September 8th. If you remember that Friday afternoon, really bad 20 minutes. We ended up with 4 huge trees down, 1 at my office and 3 on Author's Ridge. Under each of the 3 at Author's Ridge, there was damage to headstones.
Oh.
So 8 headstones, 6 of which are pretty easy to fix. We have to have a monument company do it. 1, I have a replacement coming from the military. It's a flat stone, but a tree branch landed on it. And then 1 very large stone on Author's Ridge that we're working on having it reset, but it's a difficult one to reset. It's hard to get to, and it's very heavy, and there's not a lot of people that want to try to move it. But we're working on it. The foundation for the mausoleum has been poured. Final pour was last Friday. The backfilling will happen on Tuesday. And then it will sit till the spring. It will be all done. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a fence up and there's things up there that will all be taken down once the backfilling is done and cleaned up. Yep, so they'll be back in the spring. In September, we had 3 full interments and 10 cremation interments, and sold 1 single grave lot and 2 cremation lots. And that is all, unless you have any questions.
I just have one follow-up question, Tish. Aside from these headstones, which are being repaired and replaced, associated with the trees, I have a question on the trees, and I have a question on other headstones. Mm-hmm. So for the trees, the 4 trees that came down, when you look at the inside, was there any sign that these were basically rotted and ready to fall?
Some, yes. Not ready to fall, but there was some rot in there. They were all, I'm going to say oaks. They weren't pine trees. It's not a pine, it's an oak to me. So I'm going to say,
yeah, that's the rule according to Tish.
Yes. But nothing that we would have honestly noted that they were ready to fall.
No, exactly.
But,
no, nothing from the outside.
But older now. Yeah. Now a couple, broken branches and things like that, but nothing. The one by my office, like 0 idea that anything was wrong with it. Good sized trees too. But had it all cleaned up. That's all cleaned up. That was all cleaned up within a couple of days.
Oh yeah, no, you and your team did a great job. But it was at Author's Ridge by the Melville grave sites right there.
That was one, yeah. That's where the bronze military stone got bent. Yeah.
I mean that was formidable. So the conversation stopping.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
bad stuff. Bad stuff.
Okay, the other item I wanted just to follow up on is, I think it would be a good idea, at least annually, for us to just get a report on where we stand with the ongoing gravestone repair effort. And could we do that like in December, at our December meeting?
In December, she'll be done for the season.
Yeah.
Probably not this month, but November, she'll probably be done for the season. So at the December meeting, we should have some
Yeah.
type of a status
And
update. Yeah.
Justine, it would be nice if we had like, well, not only the photos, but we had a wonderful report, I think about 2 years ago from
Should
her.
do the same thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it would be nice if we had like a cumulative tally once a year, and it may be, I would suggest we make it a, you know, a rolling agenda item every December, just get an update on where we stand with.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm sure she'll be doing that. Yep.
Who does it?
Right now, Tamara Condi, Historic Gravestone Preservation is her company.
Yeah, we've had, I guess you put it out to contracts.
We did an RF something and she was a little RFQ. She was the lowest bidder the last 2 to 3 years, I think. No, but she does a great job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great. So that's great. If we could have that just as a, it would be nice if for some of these operations issues, if once a year we just agreed on a meeting and just, and had it reviewed, just so everybody is up to speed on where things stand. That's great. Any other questions for Tish before we move to the next agenda item?
Nope.
Okay, let's move to item D2, monument request, Pappas.
Pappas, yes. So this is an oversized stone request. It is, so there's actually not going to be any wording or any etching or anything on the boulder. It's a natural boulder being set on a 2 grave lot. On a 2 grave lot, the maximum size stone that is allowed measures 3 feet 6 inches from left to right, 1 foot 6 inches from front to back, and 3 feet 6 inches high. This boulder meets 2 of those size restrictions. It's 30 inches wide and it's 18 inches high. It is 2 feet thick. So it is 6 inches larger in thickness than what is typically permitted according to our monument application. But it's just a boulder.
You can show it to.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the issue really, it doesn't exceed the lot boundaries.
No.
The 2 feet would then extend into the burial area.
So we leave about 2 feet of space for the stone to begin with because people then have planting area as well.
Right.
So it won't extend into it. It will be very close to it, but the interments that they're planned anyway to be in this lot are cremation only, so wouldn't impede digging or anything like that.
Okay, and so basically it doesn't cause any problems with Einstein cutting,
No,
going in between monuments and
Nope.
cutting or anything like that?
Nope.
Anyone else have questions or comments about the request?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Jeff. Tish, what's operations thought on this? Any problem?
no, none. No,
But the reason you're bringing it as you do for anything that differs from the guidance.
6 inches larger. If it's a
Yeah.
couple inches, nobody ever cares, but 6 inches larger should be approved by the committee.
Okay,
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Please
to
do.
Accept the Pappas monument request as described by Tish.
Jeff,
Really?
seconds?
okay, thank you, Jeff. Let's have a roll call. Brian Davidson,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Priscilla,
Aye.
Rod, aye. So the motion is unanimously passed. Thank you. Let's move to item D3, the CPC application for metal structure evaluation, letter of support. Many thanks to Justine for drafting a draft letter from the cemetery committee in support of our grant application. And just to remind everyone, we are asking for a $35,000 grant from CPC this year that will fund the engineering evaluation of all metal structures and make a determination of which ones need restoration or repair or replacement, and give us an estimated cost as to all of that. But the plan being, once with that information in hand, we can then decide whether to go back to CPC or to go elsewhere depending upon the size of the amount that's money that is required. So this is one of four letters of support that we are seeking. Does anyone have any edits or suggestions for revisions for this draft letter? Well, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Justine. So may I have a motion to approve the letter of support?
I'm happy to make a motion to accept the CPC application for metal structure evaluation letter of support as drafted.
Okay, seconds,
A second.
roll call, Brian Davidson,
Aye.
Jerry Susi,
Aye.
Jeff Walton,
Aye.
Phil Sturgis.
Aye.
Rod Rydell, aye. Okay, unanimously approved that. Okay, next item is the cemetery master plan. And today, all I wanted to obtain from the committee was the sections, the three sections that each of the committee members are choosing to review, with the idea that we're going to have some gaps, and I'll try and call people or double up with some people to make sure that we get enough sections under review. So may I go first with someone who is willing to identify the sections you want to review? I've got the tally table right here, so I'll record whatever people say.
I mean, I'm happy, sure. So the three sections in not particular any order were supply, operations, and infrastructure.
Okay. Okay, Priscilla?
Mine were infrastructure. I should have made a list. Monument restoration.
Okay,
Melvin Memorial. Just kidding.
that one may actually
Just kidding.
wind up getting eliminated because
Yeah, it should be. New section.
Okay.
The,
New section.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jerry?
Okay, I may have misunderstood. I was a little more specific. The columbarium specifically, 1.3.2 and 6.3. Communication, 2.3.
Wait a second, let me, 3.2 and 6.3.
Yeah.
Okay,
Communications is 2.3.
2.3, okay,
And then spoils storage is 6.1.
6.1. Okay,
Jerry may have meant 7. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's 7.
okay, thank you, Jerry. And Jeff, you have your sections?
Yeah, and I wasn't as specific as Jerry. So I was gonna suggest for myself monument restoration, operations, and supply. But I'm willing to, fill in wherever's needed.
Okay, I was gonna, so I was just gonna handle all the appendices, the new ones that we decide to put in and obsoleting or removing ones that no longer are needed. I was gonna take charge of the introduction, and I was gonna take charge of, Memorial, Melvin Memorial, if it exists, following our discussion, I think we should discuss it, but I'm not sure that we should have it in the master plan, other than maybe folding it into operations in the future. So I'm going to put myself into, let's see, one other here, the new section at Sleepy Hollow, since we'll have, that'll give us at least one person and priority summary. I'll do this summary. I am going to ask that Aaron and Tish work on the CPW suggested priorities, which would be the appendices. Okay. And we can have a discussion of those as well. How does that sound to everyone in terms of review assignments? Does that sound reasonable?
Yep.
Okay, great. Then what we'll do, starting next month, we'll roll out by sections and give people an advance notice what sections we want to review, and we'll try and do it. We'll definitely do it with the people who are doing the review. So we'll do that, and we'll roll it out with the goal that sometime by the end of our, fiscal year here, certainly early spring, that we have reviewed each section, made our decisions, then can come back, have a revised section to look at, make final revisions and issue this by the end of the committee assignment, right? Which would be May or June next year. Okay, that'll be the goal. We'll set up a schedule. I'll set up a schedule and give it to you. We can put it into the agenda just to keep track of that. Okay.
And can you send all of us who's doing what?
Yes,
Yeah,
I will
that-
send a copy of
okay.
the table as well.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you want to send that to me and I'll send it out to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Not a problem.
Absolutely.
So Rod, when we're looking at our section, so obviously every section has subsections, so we'll be reviewing those subsections. To
Yes.
see if we've kind of accomplished them, if they're still outstanding. And then are we also looking to add to sections?
Absolutely.
Things for
Yeah.
discussion?
In general, the way, at least the way I've done this in work, right? When we've had, strategic documents that are being updated, you retain, right? Retain with no changes or retain with an update. You remove it because it's been accomplished. And you also have, you capture the idea is there's something new that comes up that ought to be added. Okay, so it's retain, remove, or add something new. Okay, all right, retain with revisions or retain, and in many ways, for example, the introduction. There'll be sections of the introduction that we don't need to change because they were written so well, years ago that there's no reason to, there's no reason to update the historical significance of the cemeteries, right?
Rod, if I may?
Sure.
There's several sections in here that I think may need some help from the operations team to make sure it's updated correctly. And I'm looking through here, some of these things may be updated in this document. We may need to do the work to update it. And I'm just wondering from Tish and others how we go about doing that and not impinging on their time.
There's one operations way to do it, sort of administratively, Jeff. When it comes time to that section, we'll bring it to the meeting and we'll identify it. And then it'll be an action item resulting from the meeting. Like, can you please, like Aaron, Tish, can you vet what we've just said? Tell us whether that's right or wrong, for that. And then we come back to it the next meeting and make a decision about what's done. I don't want to make this burdensome. And with something like this, I think it's really useful to use these meetings as a way of getting some of the work done.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we'll do section by section in scheduled meetings.
Yes,
Gotcha.
that's the general
Yeah,
idea.
that's great.
That we'll make it an agenda item and you'll have at least a month's notice.
That sounds good.
So, for example, Priscilla, you're going to be working with, for example, on infrastructure, you're going to be working with Brian Davidson. So when we talk about that, you and Brian will have the expectation that you'll be conferring prior to the meeting and then coming and saying,
Gotcha.
this is what we got.
Perfect.
Does that sound
Do we
reasonable?
have to be careful of open meeting laws?
So Aaron is nodding yes. And so what should we do about this? Should I just generate saying that this is a subcommittee of the overall committee? Or
Anytime you do a subcommittee, you have to do minutes.
It'd almost be,
How did you guys do?
yeah, how many sections have two people, more than one person? to do that?
the idea was to actually
Everybody.
do that, yeah,
Okay.
okay. So it could be just a cemetery committee meeting.
Could be, I mean, you could have a subcommittee and then just,
Why can't we just take notes?
and we could post it, let us know when you're gonna meet. And we post the meeting and you take your own notes and you get back to us. You don't have to have a staff subcommittee.
Alternatively, we could, what you just said, Priscilla, is take your notes and share them at the meeting.
That's fine.
And we could do that. We could try that for a couple of meetings and see if that gives us adequate time to discuss changes without introducing more administrative burden for the committee. How's that sound? Can we try that? Having done subcommittees in the past, it is an administrative burden, and you don't want to take away from the effort. So I think your idea is great, that you go ahead independently, make your notes and bring them, at the time when we're talking about that section. How's that sound? Okay,
Do you have, so just for clarification for my sake, because
sure.
when you meet, like if Brian and I meet, do you have to post that? Do you have to,
Yeah, that's
Several days in advance.
that we're meeting?
That we're
Yeah.
meeting,
And-
where we're meeting, the time we're meeting.
So that's,
Parliamentarian subcommittee does it,
Right.
when they have to
Okay.
meet, yeah.
All right.
And it's 48 business hours. in
Okay.
advance,
All right,
So.
learning all this.
Well, just looking at this, so, obviously, I think the Melvin Memorial, you can say, is done. And I'm wondering if section 6, which is the new section of Sleepy Hollow, if those items could be incorporated in some of our other sections.
well, we might be able to do like what they do at town meeting, a consent review, and we could lead off with a consent review at our next meeting saying, the following sections have been reviewed, and the following sections of
Sure.
those sections
A consent
are,
calendar.
are proposed for deletion.
Because then that would leave us with 4 sections plus the introduction and priority summary. So one person potentially could review this and bring it to the meeting for a full discussion type of thing, rather than 2 people working on one section.
I would still like to have, I like your idea very much, to have people come to the meeting to discuss. I'd like to have the benefit of 2 people looking at it somewhat independently and then sharing their thoughts. Okay, but we can still do it in that format. So let's work on, I'll take the action item to prepare the consent
Agenda,
review agenda for our November meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll talk with committee members to see which section we could actually then discuss at the next meeting, and we'll put it on the agenda, and we'll work our way through that. Okay? Of
Hey, Rod, can I make a suggestion?
course.
If there happens to be anybody from the public available in the room who has some experience with creating these types of plans, if they had any tips for us as we go forward, I think that'd be very helpful.
Could we all look at Andrew?
We did, well, we basically took what Rod is suggesting, and we discussed this at almost every meeting for a while, but that's because we were getting it off the ground when it hadn't been lived on. Which is why we had a subcommittee too, because that way Whitney and I could just work on like, should we keep the same format, what was in there from 20 years ago that we could keep and what we had to start over. But I think just ongoing discussion, like until you feel like, I mean, for you guys, it might only take a couple meetings to go through it and prioritize what you want to put at the head of your list of things to do this year. But it was helpful because sometimes, I mean, we certainly got a lot of input from Tish. It was so helpful in like steering us toward what is actually crucial to get done and keep working on. And then just having input from staff too was really helpful. So this is probably your best way to discuss it openly.
And you bring up an excellent point, Andrea, and I just want to add, I don't propose that we change the format of the master plan. I think the way it's formatted right now, the way the organization is perfect. If after we've done all of the reviews, we find that maybe there's some changes that ought to be made to the format, I would rather have the content drive the format than come back and say, well, this isn't the way I think about it. I think that we should do the monument restoration as the first topic. There's things like that. That I want to get the cart, before the content first. So I think the way you and Whitney got this set up makes perfect sense, and that we should just follow that until it doesn't work. Okay, and we'll know if it doesn't work. Format wise, we'll know.
Rod,
This is Terry Ackerman. I'm the select board liaison, and about your subcommittees, I appreciate that you're following the open meeting law and not going to get into any bind later down the road. That's great. So to make your subcommittees as easy as possible, yes, you have to post it, but the minutes can be very brief, 1 page or less. You know, the committee met at such and such a time, we discussed section XYZ, you know, and it's attached. Our draft is attached or something like that. You can make it really easy on yourselves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. We're gonna try without, we're gonna see if we can do this without forming a subcommittee.
Right.
We're gonna see if we can do most of the discussion right in these committee meetings. And that'll allow us to be super efficient on everything else, all of our other agenda items. Yeah. But if we have to, we'll do that. And we will take your guidance on, you know, being very, very succinct with the committee, subcommittee meeting minutes.
Yeah, your consent calendar idea is great. I think that'll work. And I just want to mention also, I have to leave right at 5 o'clock. No, nothing, no offense to this committee. I have to go to another meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other any other comment from a committee member at this time? So action items, we'll set up a schedule for the discussion of these various sections. And we'll post that and notify people in advance. We'll post it. We'll include this in the meeting minutes. And is there anything else that we're in terms of action?
You were gonna propose whatever that consent was.
Oh, yes, the consent. I'll propose the consent review. Okay. And that is definitely an item for the November.
Yeah.
The November meeting. Okay, and that'll kick it off. You know, trying to make it fast, more manageable. Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Next item is chair comments. I have no comments. We've already talked about those. Oh, I feel like Columbo. I'm very sorry. How are things going with the stone wall project? Where do we stand with the stone wall project?
So right now we have a awarded agreement, our contract with a designer, Ray Pierce. So that's in place, and we're working on getting the account numbers for CPC so that we can open a purchase order and sign that agreement and start working with them to have them start the design work.
Okay, so basically we're putting in the administrative infrastructure to do the work.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to ask this because I'm going to be talking to the CPC about this grant. I'm sure they're going to want to know where things stand with this.
So yeah, so Ray Pierce is the design
Yep.
firm that gave us a proposal. We reviewed that. The town has agreed to that, and we're working on funding that. And then as soon as that's done, there's some administrative deal with CPC as far as the approval letter and whatnot, so that we're going kind of back and forth with the county on that. Most recently, we're working on that, and so that's done. Then we'll get started with the time.
Okay, and following up, Tish, you met with CPC, looked at some of the metal structures, and didn't come out of that, or?
We looked at the second gate, and then we went over and looked at the fence in front of the Monroe lot. And the lot next to it. All I did follow up, and I sent you, they had asked the age of the gates. That was the only thing they had asked. So I sent that information to them, and I think that's you. Yes.
Dates for gates.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, I sent the dates for the gates, and, no, that was the only question really that they had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because, you know what? I'm gonna follow up with CPC on I think it's the 17th. And I know they're gonna want to know how this all fits in, so I want to give them the overview, and also the historical commission. It meets on October 12th, and we're going to ask them for a letter too. So that those are 2 meetings that will occur in October. And by the end of October, we should have all of our letters. I know you're going to do the Public Works.
Commission, yes, they meet next Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. And so, yeah, so we'll have our committee, we've already got a letter from the Friends of Sleepy Hollow, and I'm hoping we'll get these other two, and then we can update the application. Okay, fantastic. Item D6, committee member comments or questions. Jerry, please.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to share something briefly, and that was I was having a conversation with someone and talking about things going on at the cemetery, and I mentioned the mausoleum and just kind of described in general terms like the idea behind the mausoleum and the scale and the cost. And they just responded with something that really struck me, and is that a very close friend of theirs has been unable to bury their mother. And this is in another state, another community, but they've been unable to bury their mother for lack of funds. So there is a body in a morgue that's been in a morgue for months, waiting for money for the undertaker and then for a plot. So I just kind of raise this as, we live in Concord, we live in Bubbletown. Things don't necessarily happen here that happen elsewhere. And as someone who's always cared about death care and memorialization and everything, that just really struck me as someone being unable to bury a loved one for want of some amount of money.
Wow. Tish, Aaron, have you ever run into people with financial challenges?
Yeah, we have a lot in Sleepy Hollow. We just made it larger, actually. There's now 11 people buried in the 10 graves that we had for what we call our indigent lot. So we offer the graves for free. The interment cost is $400. There's $1,100 available from the state for anybody who qualifies for that the funeral director gets. Doesn't cover their costs. The funeral director ends up spending some, but it is what it is. But you should look into the laws in that state, because there's laws in this state that wouldn't permit that to happen.
Sure. No, I appreciate that additional information, because once I heard this, I asked for some more information too. Just I don't even know the state that it happened in. So, but anyway, thanks for that.
Happened in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other comments from other committee members or from members of the public?
Not really. We had a successful breakfast. That was very interesting. Really good stuff. Talk about sorry, thinking on the subject.
John
Pease, yeah. We don't know. I didn't know anything about him, so I know a lot about him. That was really a great time. And then the following day, we had veterans at the cemetery during a very news and for a special ceremony. That was nice too.
That was the bench for the Gold Star?
Yeah. So good turnout. So that was it. That seemed like a long time ago. It was only a few weeks ago.
Well, thanks. No, the Friends have been really very, very active past year. So it's wonderful, all the things that the Friends have done for the cemetery this year. Any other comments? Terry, any comments? You're the other public person. Yeah. Okay, muted? Okay, no, okay.
Thank you.
If there are no other public comments, then I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Okay, second? Aye. Okay, roll call, Brian Davidson? Aye. Jerry Susi? You're muted, Jerry.
Aye.
Jeff Walton?
Aye.
Priscilla Sturgis?
Hi.
Rod Rydell? Aye. Okay, unanimously, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Hey.